Hello, my name is Robbie, and no one has ever accused me of being a nice person. If at some point in time tonight I say something that offends you, good. There is probably a reason. Now let's open the Bible and figure out why. Welcome to Battlegrounds. I switched up my intro tonight. That was how I started every lesson of my last program. That was how I started Battlegrounds, where we taught physical and spiritual combat. It was a little more rough and tumble than what I do now. I mean, we were literally fighting. We were teaching combat. And it was a lot more in your face. And this week, while trying to discuss the third commandment, it brought back memories. Because I always felt that if I did a lesson and no one was offended by something I said, then I was doing something wrong. Now, mind you, that was a group comprised of very solid in their faith Christians who essentially we were doing a training to make them more elite, more bound, more driven in their faith. It was not a beginner's course. And I constantly got phone calls and messages and complaints. But it was a good program, and we touched lives there. So I reiterate, some of you might be offended by tonight. The third commandment is touchy. So we're going to jump right into it. What is the third commandment? We'll pull it straight from the Bible. We'll hop back to Exodus 20, where God gave them the commandments. God spoke these words, said, I am your God, or I am God, your God, who brought you out of the land of Egypt and out of your life of slavery. He said this to the Israelites whom Moses had just freed. And in verse 7, he gives them his third commandment. It says, no using the name of God, your God, in curses or silly banter. God won't put up with the irreverent use of his name. Now, what does that mean? Irreverent, that word itself is showing a lack of respect for something serious. If we go, King James Version of the Bible says, do not take the Lord's name in vain. Again, big words. So what is he saying here? He's saying, don't take my name lightly. Do you have any idea who I am? My name is not a joke. And I was trying to think, okay, how do I explain this? And the first thing that came to my mind was a book and movie franchise, Harry Potter. There is a character in that book series who they literally call He Who Must Not Be Named. Or You Know Who, sorry, wrong series. They call him You Know Who. Because everyone knows who they're talking about, but they don't dare say his name. Because he was that bad, he was that scary, that they felt to say You Know Who's name could bring forth serious consequences. Turns out later on in the series it actually did. But no one would dare say his name except those who didn't fear him. Everyone respected his name. Now, if that's just a book where people are afraid to talk about a guy who couldn't even beat a bunch of high schoolers, imagine how frustrated God must be with the way we use his name. He tells us right there, third commandment, don't misuse my name. Don't joke about it. No cursing it. No silly banter. And it happens all the time. Now, mind you, that was in the Old Covenant. Those were the rules beforehand. Those are the rules given to Moses and the Israelites. And then we talk about the New Covenant, when Jesus came and changed all the rules. But he still stays pretty close to it. Jesus still told us, don't joke about my dad. Don't take his name lightly. In Matthew 6, verse 9, Jesus is telling people, this is how you should pray. Our Father who is in heaven, hallowed be your name. Holy be your name. Now, he's not saying, holy are you, not the Father. Holy is the name. Sounds like if something's holy, you shouldn't be messing with it. Then we go down further. Matthew, again. This guy must have really had a thing with how people talked, because he wrote about this a lot. We go to Matthew 12, verse 33 and 34. It says, make a tree good, and its fruit will be good. Make a tree bad, and its fruit will be bad. For a tree is recognized by its fruit. I'm going to stop there for a second. Anyone here ever walk up to an apple tree? How'd you know it was an apple tree? Oh, because it had apples on it. Walk up to a coconut tree. Oh, it has coconuts on it. Trees are known by the fruit that they bear. He carries on saying, you brood of vipers, how can you, who are all evil, say anything good? For the mouth speaks with what the heart is full of. Now Jesus said that when he was talking to the religious leaders that were persecuting him and trying to break him down, extorting money from the people. That's who he was talking about there, calling them vipers. Now, we already said this, which had me kind of confused, but he goes on to say again, a good man brings good things out of the good stored up in him, and an evil man brings evil things out of the evil stored up in him. Now, if he is not trying to drive home exactly what he is saying here, I mean, he said 3 times, good man brings good things where good is stored in him. Evil man brings evil things because evil is inside him. He's really trying to make a point on this. So what kind of fruits are we bearing? This was a very, very difficult topic for me to talk about because society has changed. Foul language has become normal. Now, I'm not just talking about taking the Lord's name and disrespecting it, saying it casually and jokingly and insultingly. We have a whole list of words that we're not supposed to say. It's foul language. And it's become the norm. It's part of everyday life now. Even kids swear. It's... The more we use inappropriate language, the less it becomes inappropriate. And now, inappropriate language has become the norm. How many of you hear swear words? Probably every day. It doesn't even matter. It's on TV, it's on the internet, it's all over. I remember the first time as a child growing up and I saw a swear word on a shirt walking through the mall. And it blew my mind because I knew what that word said, but I'd never actually seen it written down before in public like that. And now it's everywhere. It's on the back of vehicles you see driving down the street. We have reached a point in society where we've stopped caring. We allow things to come out of our mouths like they don't even matter. Now, I was very curious about the whole concept of swearing, because someone once told me, because I was, as a kid, growing up in the church, I didn't swear. My parents would have whooped me. I would have had my mouth washed out with soap. I didn't swear. But I had other words that I would use as swear words. I mean, we've all seen those funny videos. Ah, son of a biscuit, for crying in the soup. Even now, I drop my nuggets in a way that is almost like a lightweight curse word. I'll literally tell you, you guys are being a bunch of nuggets right now. And I'm almost using a normal word as an expletive. So is that the same thing? Does it really matter? If I'm saying freak, or I'm dropping the hard U in there, I'm not going to do it. But if I were to, is there a difference? Oh, freaking A, come on. Is there a difference between saying it and not saying it? That's all in your head. In the process of looking into swearing, I got fascinated by some of the science in this. Because I couldn't figure out, why do people swear? Why is this a thing? What is the difference between saying an inappropriate word and saying just some random word? Does it really matter? Why? They're just words. But it turns out that it does. So I'm going to hop through a handful of information that I gathered and found out from this that just kind of confused me. Your body changes when you swear. Did you know that? Swearing will increase your heart rate. It will release endorphins that will ramp you up. Another interesting thing. Did you know that swearing will reduce pain? That's why we do it instinctually. I didn't know that was why. You hit your thumb with your hammer and you're like, ow! And you say something that you wouldn't want to say around the kids. But saying that word triggers a response in your brain that releases endorphins that help you manage that pain. There was a study done by this dude at a college where he would have people, he had a control group, certain amount of guys, certain amount of ladies, they all put their hands in ice water. And the first time he just had them repeat a random word. And with their hands in this 5-degree water, he tested how long they all could take it until it was too much and they had to pull their hands out. And once that was done and everything was back to normal, their hands were warmed back up, he had them try again. But this time, he told them to swear. And they did. And every single person, male and female, could withstand the pain longer while swearing. Scientific fact, it's proven swearing helps you deal with pain. Another weird thing I learned. Did you know that swear words are stored in a different part of your brain? I was going to write out all the funky terminology, but it's just a bunch of big words no one cares about. But like, if your normal words are up here, swear words are over here. It's in that different part of the brain that when activated, changes the way you're thinking, releases those endorphins, alters your mental state. It's why we do it in times of extreme stress and frustration. It's basically like you're in a hospital chair and you've got that button that you push that releases a little bit of that drug that takes the pain away. Only it's voice activated. That's why certain forms of Tourette's show up the way they do. There are some people that actually have a mental disorder where they lose control of most of their words, most of their normal speech, but they still have access to that other section that stores the profanity. And they learn to communicate that way. And that was what I found to be the most interesting. Because that was where I learned what makes a swear word. You do. You make the word profane. You are trained as a child growing up what words you can say and which ones you can't. So you're taught at a young age. But then you reach that age where you start playing with it a little more. You start tinkering with your vocabulary. And guess what? Sometimes swear words aren't even swear words to you anymore. They are used and abused so much that it's just casual conversation. And mind you, I work construction, and we often talk about construction, Robbie, because Templar is very good at keeping a clean mouth. Construction, Robbie, is pretty good. Not as good as I wish I was. But I've been getting better. Because I conducted an experiment these past 2 weeks. I told all of my coworkers that I don't get to swear. And if they hear me swearing, they need to tell me. There may have been a prize involved. Well, they did. And the first time someone said, "Hey, Robbie, watch your mouth," it didn't even click in my head what I had said. I had to stop for a second and realize, whoops, I can't say that. Thanks, man, I'm sorry, my bad. 1 point for you. And for the last 2 weeks, I've been playing this game at work, trying to make myself aware of the times I say words I shouldn't be using. Trying to train myself again that these words are profane and I cannot say them. Now, see, I've been able to follow the 10 Commandments. I respect the Lord and His name. I do not take the Lord's name in vain. That has been one that, well, my parents got stuck in me at a young age. But it has been a struggle to change the way I talk. And I wish it wasn't. Because I want to be that tree that bears the good fruit. See, I don't want the words coming out of my mouth, the things I say, to impact what is inside me. And for those of you who are paying attention, you realize you just said that backwards. I meant to say it backwards. Because that's how I've always seen it, and I'm wrong. I have always thought to myself, I can't swear. Because if I don't swear, that will make me a good person. but that's not correct. I need to be a good person. And when I reach that point to where I acknowledge that these are bad words, I won't say them. See, I need to let the person inside of me take over the outside. I need to make sure that the fruit growing on my tree is representative of the man I am inside. I'm curious. Does anyone remember the time I swore? I do. It haunts me to this day. Now, I'm not saying the time that Robbie swore. A lot of you play games with me, it may have popped up. Who remembers the time during the lesson I was emotional, I was in a heated topic, and I said a profane word? And it still haunts me. Not because you guys had never heard the word before. I know you all have. But because it came out of my mouth. Live on stream, on camera, recorded in the VOD, for everyone to hear. And I've always tried to write it off as like, well, buddy, you were overwhelmed, you were very passionate about what you were talking about, you were showing your emotion. I failed in my weakness. See, giving in to the urge to swear, to take the Lord's name in vain, to bear bad fruit, that's easy, especially in this day and age. We live in a world where our Christian standards of how we are supposed to behave and how we are supposed to act are almost impossible. Society has become so vulgar. How do we rise above it and not isolate ourselves? How do we actively participate in this world when so much is beneath where we're supposed to be? Bear good fruit. Let people see what is inside you. Do not conform to the ways of this world. We're better than this. I'm better than this. You are better than this. We need to show people. We need this to spread. We need people to see the tree, look at the fruit we bear, and say, hey, I want that too. I want to live that life. I want to follow the rules. I want to be a better person than I am now. I mean, tonight we're just talking about foul language. And that's a hard one because it's so easy to slip up on it. We are grown adults. And here's this guy sitting here telling me I need to watch my mouth? Really? Yes. Because if there's one thing we've learned about these streams, this program is not about me. This program has been about me doing my best to humble myself so that the Lord can work through me. So this isn't me telling you to watch your mouth, Do not take the Lord's name in vain. This is God using me to tell you, because He said it time and time again. If you don't want to listen to me, that's fine. I will not be offended. But when God tells you, I don't know about you, but I've screwed up. I have taken my language far too softly. I am a sinner. And I want to do better. Jesus shows us the way. We just have to choose to follow it. So what it really comes down to is, are we just going to continue to be a part of the norm? Or are we going to take an effort and try to be the people Jesus asks us to be? Now mind you, He's asking this of us. This is not like the Old Covenant. This isn't like the 10 Commandments back before Jesus' time, when those were the rules. Jesus gave us guidelines, not rules, not laws. He tells us how to live. There's only one rule we have to follow. And that is to accept and follow Him. Well, if there's only one rule I gotta follow, what are all these other things about? They're to guide you. To help you be a better you, help you live a better life. See, Jesus loves you just the way you are, foul-mouthed and all. But Jesus said to us in John 14, verse 15, if you love me, you will keep my commandments.
Alright, guess we doing what the word say. Alright, guess we doing